All right. Welcome into another episode of the Fantasy Huddle podcast. My name is Anish.
And it's your boy Tammy.
Well, welcome into season 2, episode 2. And Tammy, guess what? It's episode 20. We've done 20
Toto.
episodes. Yeah, this
Wow.
this will be 20 episodes. Yeah,
Quite the milestone.
yeah, I know.
But I'm excited
But
for season 2.
yeah, me too. And I realized last episode was our season preview, but I didn't say our iconic line. But Tammy, are you ready?
Yes.
Let's huddle up and get ready for the episode. So for this episode, we're just gonna go through our league, a recap of our league draft that we had last Tuesday. We're gonna give our thoughts and some predictions on who will be like some strong, heavy hitters and some teams who may be on the bottom, and then we're gonna go over some bold takes. We're gonna revisit some of the ones that we made last year, and we're gonna make a couple this year, bold and safe takes. And then moving on, we're going to go on to week one, primetime games. So we have 4 games this coming week for week one: Thursday, Friday, Sunday, and Monday. And then we're going to transition on to our fantasy predictions for week one. And Tammy's has a fun new punishment idea that he's going to talk about. And then finally, we're going to close that up. So Tammy, let's jump right in. Last Tuesday, the earliest we've ever done the draft. So give me your thoughts on your immediate thoughts.
Yeah. As you know, I'm a fan of like drafting closer to the season start because of all the nonsense that might happen in between like the last week with like contracts and injuries at practice and stuff. But this year we decided to do it a little earlier than normal, which was fine. We had to accommodate for everyone's schedule. I think the drafting generally was pretty even for most cases. There's gonna be like the deciding factors between each team is gonna be who pick up the right person in time and injuries. I think our league is usually pretty close. Even Max, as someone that doesn't pay that much attention to football, like it does a good job like drafting and still staying on
Mm-hmm.
top of it. I know we force him to kind of keep playing, but it gives us his best, and I really appreciate that. In our league, everyone is pretty like consistent and even, and we're still very competitive with it. Even though there are times that there's not much at stake in terms of like money, but we are also competitive, and I love that dynamic, and I'm excited for this year.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. This is like I said last year. This is probably the most competitive draft. Again, I thought everyone has pretty well drafts for everyone. It was kind of hard picking. I was for preparing for this podcast. I was looking and I was like, there's no clear favorites or bad teams in my opinion. Obviously, there
Uh,
might be marginally people might be better, but
yeah,
I I'm very excited.
yeah. I agree with you. It was tough. It was tough uh, preparing and picking one heavy hitter and one bottom hitter. Which I mean, I can start. I
Yeah.
can discuss the heavy hitters. Uh, my heavy hitter. This is an unlikely unlikely candidate here. Well, I think I'm gonna go for Team Ori, Team Jaguar in Paris. Very clever name. Uh, I think his team is this is probably the best team Ori has started with, and I think this might be easier to make playoffs finally for the first time in the past 5 6 years. Uh, looking at this team, I think it's a well balanced team. He has very strong wide receiver, quarterback, and like tight end. I would say his biggest weakness uh, is more of the running backs for me. I don't think he has like one, you know, for like I trust you running back to put in, the CMCs, the Jameer Gibbs, and like
Yeah.
um, he doesn't really have that. His running backs are like Kenneth Walker and Monty. Kenneth Walker is decent, but there's always question about like is this gonna be the year he declined? That last year was supposed to be the year, and it surprised everyone. Then you have Monty, who has a decent workload in Detroit, even with the breakout of Jameer Gibbs. He's still gonna get his nice share. So those are his two running backs. Then on the bench, he has Ramondre. So the way I try to evaluate this is because everyone is so close and it's very marginal. I try to think of what's the depth. If someone goes down with injuries, who has someone to step up? And I think Ori has at least one person in each position that could potentially step up and fill the void. Like Ramondre can step up in the running back as a running back for Ori if he needs it, and he has some wide receivers that could potentially step up also. Like Jerry Judy is okay, but like McConkey could be a new discovered talent in LA with the Chargers. So again, it's very close in our league, and it's really hard. I just look at a bunch of teams. I was like, a lot of these teams are really good, but I finally decided to settle on Ori as is starting off the gate at the peak, just based on his he has a little bit more depth than some other people. That's how it came down to.
Yeah, I agree with that take. Yeah, he started off really well, Tyreek, and then Travis and Josh. Do you think this is the year he makes the playoffs for the first time?
It has to be. If he doesn't make the playoffs this year, my guy Ori, I think you might have to quit,
He's
my guy.
cursed.
I think I don't think fantasy is for you. It's just his team is starting off strong. Like he has one of the like top
Yeah.
three for like each position, kind of. If you think about it, like quarterback top three, not the running back, but wide receiver top three. He has Trav, um, like go tight end. So I want to if he, unless he's unlucky, but really I would expect his team to be in the playoffs this season.
Yeah, I agree. I don't have anything bad to say. Maybe his RB depth.
Yeah,
I
his
don't
RB
know.
depth is not great, but he has Ramondre and Ty Chandler could take over if Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is
He
not.
could. Yeah.
He's older and like he's not the most like reliable in terms of not getting injured. So he has some options.
Yeah. For my take on a heavy hitter for our from our league, I have to go James. I think he has the strongest set of running backs. I think pretty much his CMC and Devon A. Chain are the top two really good superstar running backs to have on your team, and then he has uh, Nico Collins, who finished as wide receiver one for Houston and could still be there. He got the big contract from Houston, and they're paying him to be a superstar wide receiver who could be their number one target. Obviously, we'll see if Diggs leeches off or Tank Dell. Dalton Kincaid, Buffalo. We've talked about Buffalo last week. They lost Diggs and Gabe Davis, and there's a lack of targets essentially. So Kincaid could pick those up. And big wild card here, I think Rushy Rice is going to be phenomenal this year. So I think Rushy Rice is honestly could be James's WR one wide receiver one. And last but not least, Kyler Murray. I really high on Kyler Murray in the Arizona Cardinals this year. I this wasn't my bold take, but I honestly could see him becoming quarterback one overall at the end of the season. So
Yeah.
I really enjoy James's team. I think he has good depth. Khalil Shakir is a good wide receiver depth as well. Um, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. James was definitely one of the teams I was considering, and I was also going to target Kyler Murray if I didn't pick a quarterback early
Yeah,
because
you got Jalen
I think
Hurts.
he's a very good quarterback and he's dual threat. So Jason's team is very good. It's very complete. Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all. I think the question marks comes to is depth at running back. They're good. Like he has like Javante Williams, Damian Pierce, J.K. Dobbins, and Gus Edwards as which are solid. Then wide receiver. I think we're the only wide receiver that I'm a little questionable about, but I think if he works out, he's gonna work out well for him. Is Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen is older and he's in a very high power offense now. with a lot of different options. So the target load is not going to be as there, and they have like a shiny new toy with Romodunze. I might get some more targets. So and injuries are always concerns with Keenan Allen. So if he goes down, and you see, yeah, James's team is very strong. He's very strong, very complete. I don't even to his defense, like he has the chest defense. So good job, James. Hopefully, he doesn't end up average as usual.
Yeah, I agree. I think James is. Hopefully, he's not average because then he's also cursed like Ori. So
Yeah, I think the Dante Kincaid, if he lives up to the hype, James is gonna be scary.
yeah.
He's gonna be really scary.
Now on the other hand, though, who is your bottom feeder? Who's
This
bottom of the
one,
barrel?
I'm not gonna lie. This one was tough. I think, like I said earlier, our teams are pretty balanced, and it was between three people, myself included, actually. But I still believe in my team. I'm gonna go with the defending champ, Max
Max
Match.
Blanche.
Yeah, I looking at his team. Let me pull up his team here. Just say, looking at his team, I had some question marks. Obviously, unfortunately for him, there was a point during the draft that other draft kicked in. Uh, but just looking at his team, I don't have a lot of confidence in his depth. So let's look at starting QB being Caleb Williams. That's high risk, high reward. Like
Mm-hmm.
anything could happen there. Then he's still running back Travis Etienne, Isaiah Pacheco. Good options. Good option. Etienne is gonna be like top five. I'll be then Pacheco is gonna be consistent and he's gonna give you like 14 points a week. Garrett Wilson and Chris Godwin. So a lot of question marks there for me. Garrett Wilson is good, and but this will be the first year we're seeing him in Aaron Rodgers, and I feel like he's been living off potential, but there's question marks there. But Chris Godwin, decent, but it's not really like a. It doesn't scare me like that. Like he's gonna be good. He's gonna give you a decent amount of points. Then we go to the tight end, and it's Jake Ferguson. I'm not big on Jake Ferguson at
Yeah,
all. I'm not big on him. Mixing as a flex is pretty good. Then we're not gonna go like kicker Brian Aubrey, good
sure.
kicker, Chicago. Then now going into his depth, even more questions, right? There's no one person that's like you can say I'm gonna throw in if someone goes down onto his team. You have like
Yeah,
Marshawn Lloyd question mark. Like I don't. There's a lot to prove there. Blake Corum, backup running back. We expect Kyrie Williams to still take most of the load, even though he's a high talent rookie. Probably Frymouth, very inconsistent. He's gonna juggle every day, every week on who's gonna play, Frymouth or Ferguson. And I
yeah,
don't like that. I like consistency. I like guys I can depend on. Jahan Dotson, third option in Philly. Good offense, but new offense, question marks. Jamison Williams, good, but also like not proven yet.
yeah,
He's been like third year in the league. Didn't play the first year. Barely played last year. Potential there, but again, nothing. No one I can reliably stand on. And Josh Downs showed some flashes last year, but they brought on a new rookie also this year. He's gonna be
yeah,
fighting for targets. So it came down to like the depth of that. Like, can I even do I feel confident starting any of these people on his bench? No, at all, not at all. If someone goes
yeah,
down, like injuries happen in football all the time. So that's where it ended for me. It's just there is no one to like really put in as a backup. Too many question marks for me.
yeah. I also was remember. I was remembering thinking that he. Sorry. For tight end, he you mentioned Jake Ferguson, right?
Yeah,
And I was just quickly looking at the snake order to see like which order. I'm looking at the draft board right now.
yeah,
And he got Jake Ferguson, and he picked Jake Ferguson over Kyle Pitts and Evan Ingram. And Evan Ingram, I think, is a PPR machine. He
Yes.
did really well last year. So I
3 years
thought,
ago too.
yeah. And Ferguson, I thought would have been. He was one of my like late tight end picks. I thought if I missed out on tight end, I would have targeted him maybe 7th or 8th round. But 5th round I thought was a little bit of a reach. Sorry, Max.
You drafted him in the 5th.
He got it in the 5.8, five
Oh wow,
8th pick in the 5th. Yeah.
interesting. I hope maybe that was that like one of his other draft, or was it a different draft that was other
No,
drafted?
his auto draft was the Brock Purdy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He ended up dropping.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, you know what? Blanche makes questionable decisions during the draft. Last year, he made a questionable decision. I still remember to this day. I don't exactly remember the exact decision, but I remember me just saying, "What is he thinking?" And he ended up winning the league. So who knows? Blanche might know something we don't know. But his team is not bad. It could bounce back. It's just a
Yeah.
lot of question marks.
I can go
Yeah.
for my bottom feeder. I'm not sure. But actually, before I go, who was your other two? Who was your? You said you mentioned you were your other one besides Max, and then who was the other person?
I was thinking Vinny.
Okay.
I don't like
Well,
his obvious situation, but
we could chat about that later. But all right, I just wanted to make sure in case we were thinking the same thing. But in my mind, my answer is Lance. Okay, hear me out. Hear me out.
Mhm.
CeeDee Lamb, stud. No problems with him. Now that his contract stuff is figured situated, he's going to be the stud, top 2-3 wide receiver. I wouldn't say guarantee. Obviously, that's something anything can
Yeah.
happen. But Josh Jacobs, Chris Olave, Zay Flowers. Those are his next 3 picks. I like them. There's a little uncertain in my opinion. Josh Jacobs could end up becoming a bell cow Packers running back, and their up and coming offense. Quarterback got a huge play, but my problem with this team is I think he's too Packers centric in my like. He has
Yes.
Josh Jacobs, he has Jordan Love, and then he also has Christian Watson, who could be a wide receiver 2 for that team, depending on how Jaden Reed does or Romeo Dubs. And
And he
I
has
feel
Wicks
like
also. There's one more packet that you're forgetting.
Dontavian Wicks, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's true. So I feel like if the Packers, obviously, if the Packers do well, they're a young team. A lot of people are high on them, and I'm certainly high on them too. But I don't know. Putting that much faith on one team is a little risky, in my opinion, especially if they have down weeks. So down weeks, if you might have 2 to 3 starting players be affected by a down week, for example, if they score like 10 points in total, cold weather game in Lambeau Field, and then his tight end Brock Bowers, really good tight end prospect coming out of Georgia, University of Georgia, but I don't know. Rookie tight ends are a little risky. Besides last year, going into last year, we all thought rookie tight ends was going to be risky, but Sam Laporta obviously was phenomenal. So we could see the upside of Sam Laporta again, but I don't know. I'm feeling a little negative about Lance's team.
Interesting. Yeah, I initially actually I looked at Lance's and I actually liked his team. Then I went to his bench and I saw like the heavy dependence on the Packers also, and just the way I evaluated this team, I was like Jordan Love is going to be consistent. He's going to give you 17 points. So I like consistency. Josh Jacobs, high potential, like still decent. James Cook, I'm big on just James Cook this year. I think it's his time to shine, and he's gonna have an even bigger season. It's just if he
I'm
holds
not.
on to the ball well and doesn't fumble as much, it's gonna be big.
I'm not.
CeeDee Lamb obviously is stud.
Yeah.
Chris Olave, I think is good. I actually like Brock Bowers also, and I think it has a very good chance of replicating what
Mm-hmm.
Sam Laporta did as a rookie last year. Uh, Zay Flowers, I think is gonna be fine. He's a decent flex to have. Chris Boswell, wait, that's his kicker. I didn't even peep that.
He always puts him.
He loves Chris Boswell.
Yeah.
Then I get to his bench and it all just falls apart. like
Yeah.
Jalen Wright, Corey Samuel. These are guys I could see all of them not being on the roster in week 6, like none of them being on the roster anymore. So that's where I decided to lose me. But I see your concerns, and it's not the best start for Lance. So, but we'll see how it plays out. He could
Yeah,
figure himself out. Lance has been struggling in recent
he
years.
has been. Ever since
So
he got second place.
yeah, he's struggled a lot.
But anyways, do you want to give your bold take of the year?
Oof, off to that section now. Mm. This one,
Or let's. Sorry, I was jumping the gun there.
no worries.
Let's talk about bold takes from last year potentially.
Oh, recap,
Let's revisit last year's bold
recap.
take. I totally jumped the gun there.
It's okay. It's okay. It happens. Like you're just excited to hear my
I
bold
am
takes.
excited.
I guess let me recap my bold takes,
Yeah,
then you will
yeah.
recap yours. All right. Last year we had 2 bold takes, 1 safe take. The very beginning of the season. My first bold take was that Cooper Cup was going to finish outside the top 10 wide receiver. That happened. I was dead on the nail. The emergence of Puka that could really slow down Cooper Cup, and he
Absolutely.
had some like injuries issues. So I was dead on that. My safe pick was Nick Chubb finishing RB1.
Hmm.
That was my safe prediction, just because he's had decent years, and but unfortunately Nick Chubb got injured and only played like 1.5 games, so we didn't get to see that. Injuries, you can't really control injuries, so
Yeah.
I won't count that against me. My second bold take, following the trend of injuries, was Anthony Richardson being a top 5 QB, and the way he started, it was showing us that it
Hmm.
could be, but unfortunately, he got injured also after 4 games, and we didn't get to see the talent. Hopefully, this year he stays healthy. But those are my 3 takes.
Yeah, I would say two of those were incomplete,
Yeah.
which yeah, you can't really say right or wrong. But moving on to me, uh, I'll start with the safe one. So because it goes downhill after that, but let's start with the safe one. I said Tyreek Hill was going to continue being a top wide receiver. I think I mentioned top 5, but he finished in the upper echelon of wide receivers. I think he finished top 1. No, CeeDee finished top 1. So
Yeah.
Hill, I gotta
It
look it
was
up.
probably top 3.
Yeah, but that I was right about because Miami just is phenomenal. His speed is unbelievable. But my bold takes, we gave 2 bold takes. I'm gonna start with. I first said Rams were gonna tank. That didn't happen because I thought I don't know. I was just not high on their team. Cooper Cup, I also said would miss time, would not be a top receiver. I think I got that partially right, but the Rams being bad didn't really happen. Puka kind of emerged out of nowhere. No, I honestly I didn't even know who Puka was until like week
It was
1.
a rookie.
Yeah, and then my second take, I said that Daniel Jones was going to be a top 5 quarterback, along with Darren Waller being a top 5 tight end. I think that was. I will say that was a pretty dumb take. I'm very embarrassed to say that. However, I do got to say Daniel Jones, he did get quarterback 1 finish in week 2 last year, and I was feeling pretty good going into that. But um, unfortunately, he got hurt week after his 6th game, tore his ACL. Also, kind of incomplete compared to Tammy's. Darren Waller's though, he played the entire season, wasn't that good, and retires. So overall,
Yeah.
pretty bad takes for me.
It's okay.
I did bad.
It happens. Sometimes the best, experts get it wrong too. So it's all right.
Yeah, are we experts?
Mhm. Some call us experts. Some say we're yapping. Yeah.
Yeah, big yappers.
Anywho, Going into my takes for this year. So this year we're just gonna
Yes.
do one bold take and one
One.
safe
Yep.
take. I'm gonna start with my safe take. My safe take is some might call this a little bold, but Jonathan Taylor is gonna return to be a top five fantasy running back. I think that's pretty safe. Is that a rough past two season a little bit? But I think it's time for him to come back. He's getting his legs back.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, I think this is his year to bounce back. That's my safe take. My bold take, some might not like me on this, but I think Devon Chain is going to finish outside of the top 10 running backs. I I think he's a very talented running back, very
Yeah.
good, showed us flashes last year. But I just think that Miami offense is too much and a lot of options. And Ryan Mostert, I don't think is going anywhere soon. If Ryan
Yeah.
Mostert stays healthy, like they're gonna be, he's gonna be a different guy every week. So I don't think he's gonna get enough consistency to stay in that top 10.
Hmm.
But top 10 is a pretty big list, so we'll see.
I like. Yeah, I think those are pretty respectable. I think Devon Ancient certainly can, and Jalen Wright, who's their rookie running back, could leach into
Yeah,
that as well. He's pretty. He's really fast too.
yeah.
Yeah. Good takes. For me, I'll also start with sort of the safe one, although it could be bold as well. Depends on how you look at it. I don't know. It was a. I just let's talk about Garrett Wilson. Okay, Garrett Wilson was drafted in our league as the fifth wide receiver taken off the board. Um, and my safe take is he is going to be top 10 wide receiver. Nothing
That's
more, nothing less. Okay, he's not going to be elite in my opinion. Top five, top three elite. I don't think. Why you're asking this? You must be wondering why. I have some numbers I can throw at you. So let's when we're talking about the Jets when we're talking about the Jets, we have to talk about Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers last year, he tore his Achilles. Everyone knows that week one. When we look at his projected stats this year, it's around 37 to 3,800 yards and 25-ish touchdowns, which is in line with his last healthy season in Green Bay. And in my opinion, I see a lot of parallels between this year's Jets team and last year's Cowboys team because there's stud wide receiver one, stud. Everyone coming in, everyone thought Tobin Pollard was going to be a good running back too. No elite tight end, no consistent wide receiver too. So you would think Garrett Wilson could be elite, but I don't think Aaron Rodgers could be elite enough for Garrett Wilson to finish in the top three. Because Dak finished as an MVP caliber season last year, where he threw for 4,500 yards and 36 touchdowns, and it was the QB two. Aaron Rodgers cannot. I don't see that. Achilles Achilles injuries are tough to recover from, especially the year coming back from it. So, in my opinion, my safe take is Garrett Wilson, regular wide receiver top 10 finish for the year.
well, yes, a little counter to that. I don't like the A run slander here. I don't think
I wouldn't say it's
Aaron.
slander. I think it's just
I think it's
he's going to
slander.
finish just exactly how he finished last in Green Bay. I wouldn't say he's going to be dominant.
Is like MVP,
Why
four
wasn't he
time
drafted in
MVP.
fantasy?
What?
Why wasn't he drafted in fantasy if he was going to be elite top 12
Because
quarterback?
it's not the other fantasy talents that can score and run better. But in terms of passing ability, which is what impacts Garrett Wilson, I don't think his Achilles injury is going to slow him down much in that regard. So he's always been like a pocket passer. He doesn't. He's not like known for being a runner or like using his feet much. So I don't think that's going to slow him down that much.
But
In terms
I'm
of
not saying he's
impact,
going to be bad, though. I'm saying he'll be good enough. But for Garrett Wilson to be an elite wide receiver, Aaron Rodgers needs to be an elite quarterback, in my opinion.
I think not fantasy wise, just like
I'm talking fantasy.
football wise, I think Aaron Rodgers is still going to finish top 10 QBs. And I don't think Garrett Wilson is going to finish top three, no matter how good. is the experience is just not there yet. Is not is like the main option. There's no other. Maybe Mike Williams that might scare people a little bit, but I don't think it's gonna come down to Aaron Rodgers like that impacts that slows him down. I just don't.
I disagree, but let's keep an eye on it. Let's
We'll
keep an
see.
eye on it.
Maybe I'm
Obviously,
biased
that's
towards
my
Aaron Rodgers,
that's
but
why are you biased towards Aaron Rodgers? What does he
I
have?
mean I like Aaron Rodgers.
Oh,
I drafted him like 2 years in a row for fantasy one time. I think
yeah,
honestly, he's a really
he
I
did.
like him as a player. As a
Yeah,
person, I don't know him, so I'm not going to comment on that. But as a player, I think is good, and I feel like people tend to even his last MVP. People question is he going to slow down? Then he won the MVP. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to be the one that slows down Garrett Wilson from being unlocked into that top level. I just don't think so.
I disagree. I think he will,
Okay.
but yeah, let's keep an eye on that. I guess that could have been my bold take then. My next one, I don't know. I
No, I
feel
think
on
it's
the
a safe
fence.
take that
It's a
he's
safe
only going
take.
to finish top 10.
Top 10. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. My bold take, though, it's not as bold as last year's. I kind of mellowed it out a little bit, but I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be the overall running back one of the entire. Yeah, it's going to be an RB1, and I think Lions are going to be the best offense this year. So let's talk about that. Why? People are going to be like, Niche, there's going to be David Montgomery, right? There's thunder and lightning situation with Gibbs and Montgomery, and they shared the field a lot. Honestly, it's a pretty good split. But towards the end, last 9 games of last year's regular season, the red zone numbers for those two running backs, Gibbs and Montgomery, red zone numbers favored Gibbs. Gibbs got 65% of the snaps over Montgomery's 34.6, 35% snaps. I think Gibbs and the Lions right now, Lions, they're over under for week one. We're gonna talk about this later, but is the top is the highest over under points for points, the point spread. So Gibbs' versatility is no secret. He could be Detroit's top option close to the end zone. And Goff can't really rush it in himself. So I think Gibbs will be the leader in touchdowns and the RB1 overall.
I love Gibbs. He's really exciting to watch. I think he's a great talent. It's definitely I think it's a bold take that he's gonna finish number one over CMC. I don't necessarily agree that Detroit has the best offense, but they're up there. I'll say they're definitely top five. Uh, the way I kind of see it is Bijan is also kind of similar to Gibbs in terms of like the talent are both there. They both can catch the ball. They're good young running backs, and Atlanta also got more firepower in their offense now, so they're emerging as a top elite team. But I can't see anyone being better than Christian McCaffrey in San Francisco, unless
That's
Christian McCaffrey gets injured. It's like it's his thorn. No one is dethroning him. If injuries can happen, then yeah, maybe. But Christian McCaffrey is just the level of dominance that we saw last year. I can never question that unless he's injured. I can never question it.
the reason why I say that is I think I feel very high on the Lions this year. Jared Goff plays like an elite quarterback when he plays indoors in a dome. And they play indoors in a dome 14 weeks out of the 17 weeks this year. So they also have a top 3 tight end in the league for fantasy and arguably in real life too, Sam Laporta, and Mr. Amon-Ra St. Brown as well. They have an elite offense. They have an elite offensive line. All the marbles are in place for, I think, the Lions to take that next step and Gibbs, more importantly, to be RB1.
Both take. I don't. I would love to see Gibbs take over that throne. I like Gibbs, so but both take.
Yeah, that's just how I feel.
Fair enough. We'll see how it turns out at the end of the season.
We will. All right. So shall we move on to some week one games?
Yeah, let's move on. Let's
All
see
right.
preview. I'm excited.
Yeah. Let's move on to Thursday night tomorrow. We're recording on Wednesday, so tomorrow. Ravens versus Kansas City. Super Bowl champions are at home. Kansas City taking on Baltimore and Lamar. Hopefully, they're feeling pretty upset about choking last year's. Is it AFC Championship game?
Yeah,
Yeah, they had choked last
that
year.
was a
That
big
that
choke
was a
job.
big
I
choke.
think they defeated
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah.
They defeated themselves in that game.
Let's see the
Ridiculous.
rematch though. Are you excited?
Yeah. I think it's gonna be a good game. Great game to kick it off. Two very good, very strong team that got some new shiny toys. Uh, I'm very excited to watch the game. I'm very excited for each team. Uh, Baltimore. I'm very excited to see Derrick Henry in
Mm-hmm.
Baltimore, just because I didn't really like the way the Titans were using Derrick Henry last season. Yes,
Yeah.
he's older, but I think last season he was the highest paid running back in the league, and they weren't using him like the highest paid running back in the league. So for fantasy purposes, I'm very excited to see Derrick Henry show us King Henry again, show
Mm-hmm.
us what he can do. For Kansas City, I think I agree with you on Rashid Rice. I think he's gonna be able to elevate into one of the top, not maybe not the cream of the top, but like one of those elite
Yeah.
wide receivers. So I'm excited to see that, and also Xavier Wadi, the new rookie. I'm very curious to see how they implement him. Hollywood
Mm-hmm.
Brown is not gonna play in this game, but is also a good weapon for Patrick Mahomes to have. I think this year Patrick Mahomes has way more options than he did
Mm-hmm.
last season. But I think last season they were able to win because of their defense. And obviously Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. But the defense was the game changer for them.
It definitely was. They were the sixth rank against the pass, so
Yeah.
we'll see. Yeah, I agree. Derrick Henry is joining the second best rushing offense from last year in the Ravens, and he could certainly, he honestly could certainly lead the league in touchdowns this year. The way they run the ball, and honestly, if you're a Lamar owner, you might be pretty happy with that because just he'll still run, but he won't like be in situations where he could hurt himself. Maybe they'll give it to Derrick Henry, but
Yeah.
um, yeah, as you mentioned, Xavier Worthy. I'm looking out for how Kansas City uses their wide receivers. Rashee Rice, I think, is the wide receiver one, but Worthy could be a dynamic player that they use a lot. And I also want to see how they use Isaiah Pacheco. Is he a three down running back? Is he just there for the first two, and then they get Samaje Perine, who's the third round pack as a pass catching back? Will they use him as a Jerick McKinnon role? Who knows? I just need to see how Kansas City uses those running backs as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's gonna be a good game. Like also
It
like
will
for
be.
just last thing on Baltimore, seeing what Gus Edwards did last season, less
Mm-hmm.
talent than Derrick Henry, and was able to score those touchdowns, and makes me very optimistic for Derrick Henry in this offense.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to the first Friday night season opener, week one matchup. Also happening in Brazil too, which is cool.
Oh wow, that's dope! I didn't know that.
Yeah, so Green Bay is taking on Philly. Philly's technically the home team here. Yeah, so it's Tammy's team,
Bird
Bird
game.
Gang. But yeah, Tammy. Well, this is another running back. I think everyone's going to keep their eye on the two running backs, Josh Jacobs, Saquon. What are your
uh,
thoughts on that?
Absolutely, I'm excited to see Saquon in Philly. I think this is his proper team that he was supposed to be on, but the G-man drafted him. It's gonna be a good game. Both teams are pretty good offenses, solid teams. Green Bay is like the young blood, and Philly is like kind of not the old guard, but they've been
Yeah.
in concession the past couple of years. They have a pretty solid team upgrade on defense with Philly after that abysmal end of season last year.
Hmm.
Uh, I think Jalen Hurts. This is outside of like Saquon and Josh Jacobs. Eyes on Jalen Hurts also,
Yeah.
just for fantasy and mostly outside of fantasy because last year he had a down year, and I'm a Jalen Hurts truther. I believe in him. I think he's a good quarterback, and I want Philly to stick with him. And I think last year he was playing a little hurt. I think he was a little injured, but he just roughed it out. But
Yeah.
now he has weapons. Yeah, they even added John Dotson as a third wide receiver, so he has options. He needs to. It's time to show up. This is it. If it doesn't show up, then he might lose me and he might lose Philly. Philly fans have very little patience, so some of them are already doubting him. Uh, but yeah, Jalen Hurts needs to elevate this year. But good matchup between those two teams. And another thing I'm mostly excited to see in this game for Green Bay is who is really gonna take on that wide receiver one role in Green Bay. I think that's
Right.
my biggest question. They have three young wide receivers that could any of them could elevate into that with
Yeah.
Dobbs, Watkins, and Reed, so, Watson and Reed. So that's what I want to keep my eye on for fantasy the most.
Absolutely.
Yes, just Jacobs is on a new team and he could be good, but that wide receiver for Green Bay is what catches my attention the most.
That's a good point. Yeah, they're Green Bay is a very young team. They finished the season extremely hot, in my opinion. They beat the Cowboys in the playoffs. Jordan Love played phenomenal. So we got to see if that was a fluke. He got that big season. I don't think it's a fluke. I think he's still going to be pretty good. Um, maybe not at that elite level, but who knows? Who knows? But one thing I'm keeping an eye out is how the Eagles' offensive system is going to be this year. They have a new coordinator, Kellen Moore. I think their previous coordinator honestly failed them. Their offensive system last year collapsed.
It was bad.
It was a lot of like
Hero ball.
uncertainty. Yeah, it was
It
just
was hero ball. Jalen was trying to do too much.
right.
It was ugly.
And another thing I want to see, we talked about Saquon. I want to see if there's any difference in the offensive line following Jason Kelsey's retirement. I think I'm not saying that they're going to struggle. I'm just saying if is there going to be an adjustment period because he was the leader of that offensive lineman and he's gone now and Jalen Hurts might have to step up to set protections or whatever for football for them to succeed to run the football. So a lot to keep an eye out for sure.
Yeah.
And let's go move on to Sunday. The highest, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, highest point spread of the game of the week. The Rams versus Detroit. Detroit's at home. I'm very excited for this game. I actually really like Detroit this year. So, what about you?
Yeah, I think both teams are good. I think I'm gonna say LA is gonna win this matchup.
Hmm.
I think the Rams are gonna win it and upset Detroit. But we'll see. I think Detroit is gonna Detroit, and that's that's in their blood, even though they have a good team. For this game, what I'm mostly looking forward to for the Rams
Yeah.
is Cooper Cup gonna take back his spot as the number one? Puka is not gonna let him have it back. That I'm not gonna I can't count out Cooper
Hmm.
Cup yet just because he's such a good talented is a like his football mind. Just hearing him talk about football, you can tell he's a good football player. So I can't count him out yet. So I'm very interested to see if he's gonna take back the reign as the wide receiver one or
Hmm.
just let Puka take like Puka time and step back a little bit into a lesser role. And for Detroit, question mark is always gonna. It's not a lot of question, but Gibbs, Monty, how much for? If I'll be more concerned if I'm a Monty owner because I I feel like with the emergence of Gibbs and the way he ended last season, I think Monty's on a downward trend. So if I own Monty, I'll be a little bit concerned. Like, is it worth holding on to? Or
Hmm.
not? Is it time to maybe last year was just a transition period and now Gibbs is going to fully take over the reins? That's the only question, but no doubt Jameer Gibbs is going to be the main star in that backfield.
I I disagree that the Lions are going to lose. I think they're going to
So,
win, and I think they're going to win by good amount, maybe like 10 points. I genuinely think this is the team that made it to the NFC Championship last year, and they barely lost the. They were leading for the
they
first
choked.
half, and obviously they choked in the second half. But they were a young team last year with a lot of young players, and this could be the year they make that step up. They improved on defense last year. Their offensive line got better, and they also have Sam Laporta in his second year, who could even be even better than last year, and obviously Gibbs there too. And I don't see why Detroit at home, where Goff is routinely a QB1 level player in fantasy. We can talk about their away game performances another time because they're an awful team away, but when they're home, they're phenomenal in my opinion. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for their offense to be really good, high flying passing and running. Honestly,
Yeah,
borderline unstoppable in this game.
I mean, I don't like. I don't. I think they're the favorite. I'm just picking the Rams because of just picking the Rams, and I think Detroit. I don't know. Detroit is gonna Detroit. That's my only
I think
reason.
that's an
No,
unfair opinion on Detroit.
no, it's not. It's not. It's just I'm
Like Detroit's
predicting.
gonna Detroit.
I'm just predicting. It's not like I'm not using that against them. I'm not saying they're gonna fail because of that. I'm
But
just predicting the
but
matchup.
you yeah, but you are predicting against them because Detroit's gonna Detroit.
Yeah, that's why I'm picking against them. But I'm not saying like my rationale is a valid reason that they definitely gonna suck or like they definitely gonna fail because of that. I'm just saying like it's a it's a it's an opinion not based on any facts at all. It's just based
Okay.
on nothing, based on inch. Like it's just my gut feeling that they're gonna now win the game. It's not. It's not. There's no data behind it. I think Detroit is the absolute favorite, and like you
Yeah.
said, they're at home. They've dominated at home. It's just my hunch.
Yeah, obviously before we move on, we have to see if Kyron Williams is like if there's any danger to any Kyron Williams owners, especially with the news that happened last week. Oof.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't like Sean McVay doing that, saying
Yeah.
that Kyron Williams is gonna be returning punts. I don't think anyone wants to hear like their
I wasn't
first or
worried of
second
that.
round pick.
Now, today's news, Blake Corum is the kick returner. So what does
Yeah,
that mean?
yeah, yeah. I don't think it's gonna play much of a factor. It's just not. I don't like it. I didn't like hearing that.
Yeah, that's good. I'm very excited for this matchup. And then last matchup I'm very excited for. Let's talk about Monday night Jets at San Francisco. Um, obviously, kick it off. Talked about Aaron Rodgers. That's one thing we can look out for. Is there anything else you're looking out for?
Uh, Not really. I think we all know who the 49ers are at this point. You know, they're a
Yeah.
good offense team. It's pretty established and who is the main weapon, and I think Aiyuk has like establishes himself kind of as the wide receiver one, and Debo is like wide receiver two slash like gadget play type weapon. So there's not a lot of questions there. I think the Jets. I'm very excited to see Brees or what he's gonna do this year. Like last year, we saw flashes of it and it was really good, and I'm expecting him to continue on that upward trend. So I think the Jets are gonna be exciting to see, and I think Mike Williams is who I want to see on the Jets and see how he bounces back after
Mhm.
season ending injury last year.
Yeah, yeah. We've seen San Francisco. I think they'll be pretty much the same team from last year, dominant. They're just going to be dominant, I think. But the thing is, they're facing the New York Jets. They're pretty good defense,
Very good
so we have to
defense.
see how they're. What?
Both teams have good defenses.
Right, yeah, but 49ers, we have to see how their wide receivers do against the Jets' defense, especially their secondary and the linebackers. Honestly, their defense is phenomenal. I really like the defense. Um, yeah, Aaron Rodgers. going to be pretty average. That's my
I'm
take.
going to tell you, Aaron Rodgers is going to throw for over 300 yards and at least 2 passing touchdowns.
Sure. I don't think that. Still, yeah, sure. I don't know. Maybe I'm just I hate the Jets. I
Against
do
a
love the
very good
Jets.
San Francisco team. Yeah, you know. But we'll see. We'll see how shake off the rust a little bit. But I
Yeah,
have high expectations for Aaron Rodgers as always, based on his body of work.
yeah.
All right. Any last takes on that game before we move on to our
No,
next segment?
I'm just very excited. Football's back.
Yes, one more sleep.
Yeah.
Tomorrow is football. It's gonna be good. All right. Next segment I think is our final segment of the show, which is
Mhm.
our weekly prediction of boom and bust. Uh,
Yeah.
we're bringing this back from last year with a little spin this year because people are listening to our podcast now, so we have to be held a little bit accountable. So for this year, for this year, we Anish and I weekly are gonna predict who we think is gonna be boom and who's gonna be bust. But the spin this year is if our predictions are very off, we would be punished by having to do one of those. Is it Beanboozled, in which you
Yeah.
spin a wheel and you have to pick out a jelly bean. It could be a good tasting jelly bean or a bad tasting jelly bean. So you guys get to see the live reaction of us eating bad at jelly bean. I think the rules that we set are for your boom prediction. If your boom prediction scores less than 10 points, is it 10 or 5? What did you 50%?
50%. Yeah.
Yeah, if your boom prediction scores 50% or less of your projected points, then you have to do a bin bozo. And if your bust prediction scores more, 50% more than their projection points,
Mhm.
then you have to do a bin bozo. So those are the general guidelines. We'll see how that plays out for the first couple of weeks. If we need to change it up to make it a little bit more exciting, then we might have to make
Yeah.
adjustments to the rules. But that's what we're starting off with. So with that being said, we all know the rules, and we are gonna see see the data, and each host is gonna be punished based on their prediction. So any bad takes, no bad takes will be gone unpunished.
Uh, just to clarify, are we predicting a point total as well
Point total.
ourselves, or
What do
is it
you?
their projection? Like, are we saying X player is going to get 30 points?
Oh, that's good. Let's start with projections. Then we
Projection.
might,
Okay.
yeah, adjust it
Yeah, that's
because
fair.
yeah, we might, the bust. Just thinking about it out loud now, it will be the bust projection. I feel like their projections are really low. It's
Kind of
just
low.
based on
Yeah.
that they're really
Yeah.
low, so that might be a little difficult. But let's try it out the first week. The rules I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Then if we need to adjust that, and we'll adjust it next week.
Yeah. There are some crazy flavors. I'm not excited to
Yeah,
lose.
jeez, no, that's not gonna be not gonna be fun. All right. With that being said, Anish, I'm gonna let you have the floor first. Give me your boom prediction.
Yeah. So my boom prediction, you might like this. Um, I'm going with AJ Brown. I think he's going to be the top wide receiver for this week. Like I said, when we talked about the Philly matchup, they have a new offensive coordinator and a new offensive system. I think Eagles are going to want to come out hot, and I think they're going to pass, and obviously they're going to run the Saquon. But I think AJ Brown is going to be uncoverable in Green Bay against Green Bay, and he will be the highest scorer for wide receivers.
Okay. Good prediction. But do you want to put a number on it?
So
How much?
put a
You're
number
not gonna be able to accountable for the number
like
this
how many
this.
points he'll score.
Yeah, if you're gonna predict a boom.
I think he's going to get 31 points in fantasy PPR fantasy.
PPR. Hmm. Okay.
Is that a boom? I don't know.
That is a
Or I guess
boom. What do
that's a
you mean?
boom. Yeah.
Anything above 30 is definitely a boom for anyone.
Okay.
Absolutely a boom. Okay. My boom prediction is James Cook. I think the Arizona defense is not that great. I think is one of the, even though he's only been in the league for 1 year, he's one of the more veterans in the team. Obviously, he's
Mhm.
a running back, so, and I think he's a good pass catch. He had a couple drops last season, but he's a good pass catching running back. So I think early in the season when Josh Allen is more likely to rely on the guys he trusts, I think he's going to get a few more passes and
Yeah.
receptions his way, and that will add up for him to score more than the projected 13 points that is projected. Uh, so, and I think I'm big on James Cook this year. I think he's going to be better than expected. So
And
I'm going to
what
go with.
number? Just throw out a number.
I'm going to say he's going to score 24 points.
24.
That's a massive boom. Double, double
Yeah.
what is projected. But that's my prediction. All right. Now, switching gears here for your boss prediction. Who you got?
This might be a bit bold, but I don't know. Actually, it might not be that bold. Brandon Ayuk is my biggest bust of the week. Um, so what do we know about him? He's returning from a huge holdout where he wanted a new contract. He didn't see pretty much any preseason or training camp work. He's coming out. I optimistically, one would hope that he's working out on his own, but he's not seeing game action right now. And I think coming in kind of like with no practice, basically playing against people one on one could affect his production, like especially against the Jets. And I'm worried about how Sauce Gardner, who likely would take the Ayuk matchup, is gonna do against Ayuk. And last year, fun stat to throw out: no visiting defense because Jets, uh, no defense in the league allowed fewer points to perimeter receivers. So Ayuk, I think, is gonna get hurt. And do you want me to throw out a number? Oof, I don't know.
No, it's okay.
um,
You don't have to, unless you want to.
I just think he's gonna bust.
Yeah. I think, yeah, that's a good pick. I definitely thought about Ayuk when I was thinking this, but I wanted to be bolder, I wanted to pick, I really like those
Superstar.
Beanboozled, so I wanted to risk it. My pick, similar reasons to yours, uh, is CeeDee Lamb
Oh
against
wow.
Cleveland. This could really bite me in the butt. I know for sure, but I'm going out with a bang here. I think similar to yours, like CeeDee Lamb hasn't really had a lot of preseason work with the team.
Mm-hmm.
I think usually on the first couple of weeks, like the offense is usually a lot slower than the defense, so the defenses are more dominant.
Right.
And Cleveland defense is not exceptional passing defense, but it's still a pretty solid defense that guy Miles Garrett is gonna get to Dak and is gonna shake him up a little bit a few times. So that might affect his decision making. I just think
That's
CD might still be rusty, and as a team, Cowboys had a lot of drama this offseason as usual, so they might start off a little slower.
yeah. Honestly, I'm really kind of worried about Brandon Ayuk, CD, and Jamar
Not
Chase. People
just,
who have
yeah,
been holding out. Like I don't know how they're gonna do with like limited practice in
yeah,
training camp.
yeah, exactly. Chase is starting to really worry me here because mostly for
It's
week
tomorrow.
one.
Yeah, he's playing
Jeez,
Sunday.
yeah, and it's still. I mean, it was a practice in uniform today,
He was. Yeah, he was.
but gosh, pay the man or extend his contract, whatever. Give him his money. Yeah, you have an opinion, don't you? On that? I can sense it. What do you gotta say about Jamar Chase?
I was just saying he has 2 years left on his rookie contract. You could do this next year. Like, what?
Yes.
What? Why do you have to do it now? T. Higgins right now doesn't have a extended contract. He's coming out and playing because he wants to prove it on his contract year and get a better deal elsewhere. I'm just feeling bad for T because T Higgins could have done this respectfully. He literally could have done this, but Jamar is being a little bit of like, in my opinion, he's being a little bit of diva here.
Yeah, but he's thinking long term. My guy gotta make sure his wallet is stacked in case those injuries happen, man. So, hey,
Yeah,
get your bread, get your bread. I do agree though; it's kind of a little early to be doing all that, but hey, the man wants his bread.
respect that.
Yeah. All right. Any closing thoughts before we wrap up the show?
Uh, yeah, I'm excited for if one of us have to do Beanboozle next week. You'll have to tune in and find out. Um, yeah, I'm gonna keep an eye out on that though. Like honestly, a lot. We gotta see.
Yeah, I'm gonna be more worried about that than my fantasy team.
But one thing I did want to say is week one waivers are probably the most important waivers of the year because you could get a fantasy superstar like Puka last year, or even Sam Laporta, who was a superstar off the waivers. So I'm gonna keep an eye out on that, see if there's any people
Yes.
we
Yes,
could
some
predict.
league winners were picked. Like Kyron Williams in one of my leagues was picked up after
Yeah,
the first week. Week one is critical. Maybe it doesn't hurt that much to lose week one, so you can get more to the
right.
top of your waiver pick. But yeah, I agree with you. All right, nothing else for me. I think we can wrap up the show. Thank you all for listening to our show again. We're back. Football is back. It's the fall. It's pumpkin season is almost here, so I'm excited for
Yeah,
the fall. All the sports are back. I think all this except like basketball is not going to be back for a couple more months.
almost
But yeah, but I really
next
love
month.
watching sports, so I'm excited for the next few months. And yeah, thank you for tuning in as usual. If you have anything to say, you can reach us on TikTok, Facebook,
Facebook.
Instagram, Instagram.
I don't know. We have Facebook.
You name it, we have it. Or you can reach us at the fantasy audio podcast at gmail.com. Again, thank you for listening. Peace.
Peace.